And joining me now to discuss this, I have Taha Arvas, a columnist for the daily Sabah newspaper here in Turkey. And in Alicante, Spain, I'm joined by Jennifer Iduh, the head of research and development at the European Travel Commission. Taha, Jennifer, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. So tourism season has opened and millions of Turkish citizens flock to the beaches, hotels and their summer houses. Turkey, thanks to the measures it has taken at the beginning of this outbreak, has managed to flatten the curve, but is still not included in the EU's list of countries safe to travel to. So, Jennifer, could you tell us about the dynamics of the EU's decision and what are the EU criteria that Turkey doesn't seem to fulfill?
This was a decision that was taken by the European Council. It's a decision that we have our doubts as to whether it is the right one or not. However, we recently issued a communication with the Airports Council International stressing the importance of reopening borders gradually with those destinations where the pandemic situation seems to be more stable. As things stand, we understand that there is some countries are being careful with the reopening, but we will still continue to encourage EU member states to implement a more coordinated approach to support the recovery of the tourism sector and welcome international travelers to Europe again.
So, Taha, how ready is Turkey? Tell us about the measures taken with the start of the outbreak. And do you believe there are some political and economic reasons behind the EU decision?
Sure. I think I'll start with your second question first. We've seen from France's insistence that reciprocity be involved, meaning if they allow citizens of other countries to come to the EU, then the EU citizens must be allowed to go to their countries. We see that it's not actually a objective, health-based, data-based decision here. I mean, there are European diplomats who have come out and said that there are geopolitical considerations being used. China, for example, is on the list of safe countries. But today, it released the worst case of the coronavirus pandemic in 3 months. So one of the criteria that the EU set out was that you have to have a decreasing amount of new infections for you to be considered safe. But that's not the case for over 20 of the countries that are on the list, which include 15 non-EU members and the EU members themselves. So more than half countries are in violation of the EU's stipulated data criterion, but nevertheless, they're considered safe. As for Turkey, Turkey has taken a lot of measures. The fastest coronavirus testing turnaround time is in Turkey in Istanbul airport. For people that are even transiting through Istanbul, they can have that test done. It's very cheap and very quick to do. Other than that, there is, as you probably know, for anyone who lives in Turkey, masks are everywhere. People are tested in restaurants and other public areas. The country has very much quickly adapted to the pandemic and taken safety measures in accordance with that.
All right. So, Jennifer, now we're seeing spikes in some European countries, especially in Spain. Do you think the member states have taken the right measures or have lately eased them due to economic concerns?
The priority right now for EU member states is to ensure that they are putting in place all the sanitary and safety measures to protect their local population and tourists. So the pandemic has affected countries at many different levels. The measures that have been adopted have also been very different. So the success or lack thereof will determine the measures that need to be adopted by different countries, which could be more or less drastic. I mean, the virus never really left, and we're seeing how countries that are having second wave of infections are now reacting faster, and they also seem to be better prepared now than when they first had to deal with the outbreak.
So do you think we will see more travel bans coming into place?
We don't expect to see more travel bans. We hope this doesn't happen. In fact, the World Health Organization recently stated that closing borders to reduce the spread of the virus is not a sustainable approach. What we will see now will be more localized travel restrictions and recommendations for travelers visiting specific areas within a country, but not an entire destination. We will see more restrictive measures according to each country's evolution. There is a lot of uncertainty still, but what is certain is that borders cannot be closed indefinitely.
So, Taha, what lies ahead for the Turkish tourism year? Will it be a lost year for Turkey? And how will this, especially travel ban, impact the Turkish tourism sector as well as the Turkish economy? Is it surmountable?
Well, I think the one thing that we've noticed from around the world is the entire world tourism sector has been very badly hurt by this pandemic. All of Europe, the United States, South America, the entire world, as I said, is very much suffering this summer. Unfortunately, most of the summer has already passed now. We're in August at this point, frankly, and we have a month left. But the good news for Turkey is a lot of countries that have a high number of tourists coming to Turkey, including Russia, have allowed their citizens to come. A lot of Germans have come as well. So Turkey, in that respect, has recovered some of the losses. I would say that probably at least 50% of the total amount of tourists coming has been lost already, but it's not too late. You know, it's great weather in Turkey now, and I'm sure I know of a lot of tourists that are coming now. So I think Turkey will be able to recover as best as it can, but it won't obviously be anything like the years past. But it is definitely surmountable. I think for the future, it might be good to see that Turkey can deal with the pandemic successfully.
So, Jennifer, when do you think we will be able to assess the damage economically and really know if the latest spikes are actually tourism related?
The effects of the pandemic are being devastating, especially if we consider how relevant tourism is for the European economy. There is an increased amount of uncertainty still. We're seeing how countries are going through their second wave of infections and re-implementing measures that were previously lifted. There is also an increased amount of challenges that we're still facing, the economic recession, job losses, a loss of also consumer confidence because of the different approaches that we're seeing countries implementing. So the picture is not very optimistic at the moment, and we do expect a decline of over 50% in international tourist arrivals to Europe this year.
Yeah. Taha, actually, you mentioned the Russians earlier, but we know that Turkey has long been dependent on European visitors. So do you think if this European travelers they keep staying away, do you think there are other parts of the world that Turkey look into to lure more tourists?
I think that would be a good idea, frankly. I mean, it's difficult to pivot so quickly, but I frankly have just came back from the Aegean coast of Turkey. It was beautiful. It was very not populated at all. So I see that there is a difference this year, definitely. But Turkey's beaches and climate and tourist destinations are world class. So anyone who has obviously good taste and is close enough can come into Turkey and enjoy these things. And I think they are. There are some countries whose citizens are finding out places that they couldn't normally afford are affordable, and so they're taking that jump. Is it too late for the Ministry of Culture to pivot to those countries? Maybe. I mean, we don't have much time left in the season, frankly. But who knows? At this point, I think the Europeans will notice quickly that the safe countries that they've stipulated aren't as safe as they thought they were, and yes. Probably by the end of the month, I think they will have to change and put Turkey on this list only because they will be embarrassed. I mean, Germany now has more cases than it's ever had in the last 2-3 months. So it's a resurgence of the coronavirus has started in Europe. So how can they claim that that these countries are safe when they themselves are not safe?
So Jennifer, how do you think coronavirus is reshaping Europe's tourism industry, and maybe in the foreseeable future, will cities rethink their business models once this pandemic is over?
I think that we need to accept first that the fundamental nature of tourism has changed. Travel needs to be resumed, and the best thing we can do right now is to adapt to the new normal as fast as we can and ensure that it's safe to travel across Europe. Destinations are now taking this opportunity to reassess their tourism strategies and make sure that we're able to provide a tourism industry to future generations that we would like to see. So one that is more sustainable and that respects more the local populations, the local economies, and that is what we're going to be seeing in the foreseeable future.
All right, Jennifer, Taha, thank you very much for joining us on Straight Talk. Appreciate it a lot.